Hey everybody, it's Eric, Will, and Brad from the Mature Minded Gamers. Today's podcast, we are going to cover the season finale of Star Trek Lower Decks, No Small Parts. I got Brad and Will with me today.
Hey, what up?
Yo, yo.
Let's jump right into this one. The Cerritos is stopping on Beta 3, which is the planet from the original series where the inhabitants are worshiping a violent god who Kirk figures out is actually just a computer generated god. And, they get that all solved and wrapped up. But for some reason, fast forward into the future, they've went back to their old ways and are worshiping this violent god again. And you see you can see some sadness in Captain Freeman and also in Mariner's thoughts about how could this happen, because Starfleet doesn't basically take care of the things that they do. They don't go back and perform maintenance, I suppose is the right term, or check back in with the people that they've helped one time or another. So what do you guys think about this callback to Beta 3 from the original series?
I saw that as the part of this as a start to this episode, and it didn't really leave me with like a lot of hope for the rest of the episode. Honestly, like that in my opinion was the weakest part of this episode. But I mean, it was a decent reference and a decent pull, but it was not one of my favorite episodes. So not a knock on the episode, just really didn't keep me too engaged right off the bat.
I thought it was pretty good foreshadowing to what we eventually get out of this episode. Not to jump too far ahead, but one of the things that I really dug about the beginning here was we saw Kirk and Spock from the animated series. We saw a picture of them, and I thought that was awesome.
You're very right about the foreshadowing. They did a good job with that. So Brad, Boimler and Mariner are handing out art supplies to the children, and you see Boimler, helping out, and even Mariner surprised that, hey, you're breaking protocol and doing something cool, and we see them kind of their bond grow a little bit more, and but he accidentally leaves his comm badge on. And so he's talking to Mariner, and he tells her that, hey, I know your secret, that you're the captain's daughter. And everybody, either on the ship, or we know at least the bridge heard it. They didn't actually show anybody else on the ship, but at least the bridge heard that whole conversation, and so the secret is out. That played off way earlier than I thought it was going to, and it wasn't necessarily the focal point of the episode like I thought it was going to be from the preview that we had seen.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty hilarious how the captain beamed them directly to the bridge.
Yeah, right in the middle of him, kind of being a turd about it. Yeah, I thought that was pretty good. I got to imagine that like on other ships around the fleet, stuff like that happens,
Yeah, and speaking of other ships, the next shot we have is of the USS Solvan, and it is in the Kalala system. And we see the captain and the crew kind of taking in the new ship and even peeling off some plastic that's covering the new ship. Something we've never seen before, which I thought was funny. That is probably true. You would think of something new would have something covering the plastic. Was it the tactical screen? I think it was the plastic screen. Weapons, yeah.
It's like when you buy a new laptop.
Right, exactly. Something we've never seen before, but I kind of like that part of it. But before they know it, a ship warps in on them and just starts opening fire. And boy, did that ship look menacing. I was impressed with the design of it, and it just whips their butt and latches on, and they go try to warp, and it ends up blowing the whole ship up. What do you guys think about this scene? Not knowing anything else besides what you saw right there.
Oh man, I was like, wow, this got dark quick. This is a lot darker than we've seen as far as like more serious.
Well, it felt a lot more like Trek. I mean, just with the way, something big happened, and then the rest of the episode was trying to catch up with that and trying to manage that, and how all the the B-side storylines all kind of play into the main story arc, which I liked. I mean, this was probably my favorite episode of the season so far.
Next up, we see Rutherford back on the ship, and he's messing with his implant. And it looks like a piece either fell off or he moved something over, and he's got a new button he's playing with, and when he clicks it, it seems to change his personality. I thought this was kind of a cool thing. We haven't really messed with the implant very much here lately. We kind of got a dose of that at the beginning of the season and seeing some of the functions. And then it came in like one episode in the middle, I think, when he was activating it to help him fight better and do different things like that.
This is the last episode.
It was a couple episodes ago, wasn't it? Last episode was Mariner and the holodeck episode. But yeah, anyways. So we get that, and then we get Tendi getting a new trainee, and the X-Comp comes on board, and this is featured in the Next Generation episode, The Quality of Life, which was a pretty good episode, and we see Mariner and Boimler competing for a new job assignment because Mariner has realized that she needs to get off the ship so people don't know that Freeman is her mother, and so she's totally changing her attitude and her appearance, and you can tell that this is going to be a very competitive episode where they're going to be going neck and neck trying to prove who's the better officer.
Oh, that's pretty hilarious how everybody was trying to suck up to her, before she kind of changed her attitude. Everybody was trying to suck up to her and stuff, and you even saw what is the weapons officer, tactical officer's name? Shax.
Shax. Yeah.
Yeah, how he tried to bring her a gift at the end there. Kind of looked to me like a bat lift.
Yeah, it definitely was a bat lift. Yeah, that was funny. Everybody was, trying to get favors in with her all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so next up, we get the Cerritos answering the distress call from the Sylvan. Partial distress call is what they say. And they think it's kind of an accident almost. So they go in pretty nonchalantly, and they arrive at the scene, and they quickly start seeing pieces of the ship. They know something bad went down, and then all of a sudden, here is the ship again, activating and attacking the Cerritos. They do much better, though. They get some evasive maneuvers in, but still, they end up in a very bad position. And then we finally see who's in control of the ship. Did anybody expect this?
Not at all.
I didn't expect the Paclids, but that would be one of the references or polls in this episode that I really enjoyed. Like, I don't know why, but that one felt more. I mean, I know it was fan servicey, but man, did that struck a different chord with me.
So I've always thought the Paclids were ridiculous, one of the silliest villains in Star Trek. So I love that it was them that was menacing and destroying these starships very easily. They had the same, I don't know what the word is. They had the same naivety. Is that a word?
Yeah, they were naive. Yeah.
They were very naive, and just like from the original series, which we seen them in the Next Generation episode titled Samaritan Snare, and they pulled the wool over the Enterprise in that episode, and they have done the same to the Sylvan, and it looks like they're about to take out the Cerritos.
I thought it was hilarious how they kept calling each of the ships the Enterprise.
Right, that was good. Even later on when the other ship comes,
the Titan.
Which we actually got a little bit of foreshadowing in that early on, when they was talking about, the Titan is also close.
Right. So speaking of the Titan, before that happens though, we have a little bit of a crisis going on, and Freeman actually asked Mariner to be herself and come up with an off-the-wall solution that was going to get them out of this. And she comes up with a virus idea, and she pulls in Rutherford to help, and he goes immediately to the holodeck and pulls out his buddy Badgie, who you can tell has some evil thoughts going on in his mind. But he agrees to create a virus to take out their ship. And so they have to get the virus physically on board, and we see Rutherford and Shax hop into a shuttlecraft and fly over there. And I just love the fact that he's like firing his lasers and his phasers, firing the phasers and rams the ship in there. And he's just having it. I think he even references, "This is the best day of my life."
Yeah.
It was great. That was a really good scene. And then, of course, Badgie ends up backstabbing them and is going to blow them up with the ship. But, man, Shax saved the day, whipped everybody's ass on that ship, and pulled off Rutherford's implant and shoved him into the shuttlecraft, and then physically shoved the shuttlecraft out of the ship and saved him and sacrificed himself. Did not see this coming. Oh, man, me either.
My mouth was agape. Like when this was happening, I was just like, can't believe this is actually happening right now. This has got to be some sort of simulation, some sort of dream. Something's going on here.
I thought they were going to pull something off where he wasn't going to actually die, but yeah. So we find out later it's not true, but we're going to get there. So went through a lot of content there. What did you guys think about all this?
The side of his face, I gotta wonder as far as like how deep did that implant go? I mean, you saw part of his what looked like part of his skull and top of his head, and just the side of his face just looked all nasty and everything. I mean, I gotta wonder how deep that implant was in in his head, and it just ah I don't know. It was just nuts how Shax just went out commando and stuff. Didn't think he was gonna die.
Yeah, it was a bit of a surprise.
A bit, yeah, a bit.
All right, so so they've cleared that Paclid ship, and they are back on the Cerritos, and they're going to try to get away. And Mariner is actually the one who is captain is being the acting captain because her mother fighting on the ship got injured and is in sick bay. And we also missed a little bit of a scene back there with the exocomp being like a super medic, and the cat doctor really is bonding with her. And you think Tendy's getting jealous for a second, and then Tendy's like, she's always happy. She's always, no matter what, you think she's about to get mad. She's like, oh, that's wonderful. And she does the same thing. This is my, I took this new Starfleet piece of, well, she doesn't call it equipment, this new recruit or whatever she calls him. And, it's doing wonderful. But when they actually tried to send Exocomp over, Exocomp checked out and said, no, I just did this to appease my father, which I thought was kind of funny. I don't know why.
Her father.
To
Like,
what?
to piss off. Like, she didn't say appease. She wanted to do it because her father didn't want her to.
Oh.
Which I thought that part was kind of weird because I didn't think the exocomps like self-replicated like that. Or if there was a
They did. So back on the episode where the exocomps came on, first of all, there was a lady scientist that had invented those. It wasn't a man. So I wondered about the lore on that one, but more than that, like the exocomps were developing like an AI and a communication and almost like a culture of their own too. So I don't know. It could have been a lot of things. There were like evidence that the exocomps were like creating parts and pieces for one another and showing concern for one another. So, I mean, it's conceivable that they are replicating in, some sort of way like that.
All right. So next up, we get, like I said, temporary captain, but Mariner is flying them out. Basically, they're about to warp out, and then 3 more of the Paclid ships come in and all attach, and it just looks bad for the Cerritos again. And then our ship that we mentioned earlier, the Titan, comes flying in and just whips them. And who's at the helm? Riker, and we get Deanna. I thought that was just great having them both in there. Riker was a lot more of not a show off, a lot more nonchalant, not the Riker that I really expected to see. Though I did like it.
He's
he was
arrogant.
very arrogant. Well, she kind of always is, but I don't know. I just didn't quite expect that version of Riker. But
We didn't really ever see Captain Riker though, did we? We never saw too much of him acting as captain.
No, I mean that's true. But yeah, I thought it was really good, and the Titan's apparently a beast because it just took those 3 out. And then we got them back at the starbase, and they're repairing the Cerritos, and everything looks to be on the up and up. We get Rutherford and Tendi. They're in the hospital, and he wakes up, but he's lost his memory. But Tendi says, "Well, that's great. We can become best friends again." And so they start sharing memories. Tendi starts telling him memories that they've had over the first season. We also get a memorial service for Shax, so it does look like he is in fact dead. I thought it was really touching. It's kind of weird. I didn't expect to get emotional a little bit, but I really felt like they cared about Shax, and Freeman, really felt like it hurt her to lose him. And I thought they did a good job with that, and it's something I don't know. I just didn't expect that out of this series for some reason.
Yeah, it was a lot more real than we're used to.
So something we kind of skipped over there. Were you guys surprised that Jonathan Frakes and Sirtis,
Marinus Sirtis,
were actually on the show?
No.
Didn't see it coming.
So I listened to another podcast called the Delta Flyers, which is Harry and Tom, the actors that played them, going back through the Star Trek Voyager episodes, and they had Jonathan Frakes on not too long ago, and he has actually been pretty jazzed about being on Lower Decks. So I knew this was coming.
I wasn't as surprised about Riker as I was Deanna, though I was glad they were both there.
Right.
We also I liked. Well, hold on. Let me go back a little bit here. So we find out that Boimler gets the promotion to go onto the Titan, and Mariner does not seem very happy about that at all. But also when they were in the 10 forward or whatever it is for them, the lounge area, Riker was pretty relaxed and having fun with Mariner. We find out that they've had a relationship, and she got a lot of her what was the term? Illegal cargo. I can't think of what the term is though.
Contraband.
Yeah, contraband. A lot of her contraband from Riker, and I thought that was kind of a funny little part that they threw in. And then we also got to see Jack. We also got to see Jack Ransom hitting on Deanna a little bit, which I thought was kind of funny. So
that was a good scene. I mean, that was overall pretty good. The one thing I guess I'm more disappointed by that whole thing though is not once did we see Riker sit down or do the Riker maneuver, like put his leg up over a chair.
Yeah.
I would have loved, for whatever reason, I would have loved to seen that in this series.
That's a good point. I didn't even think about that. That would have been good to have when they first started communicating, when they flew in and blew up the aliens.
I think it would have been a perfect part if when he's going over to talk to Boimler and Mariner, instead of just walking up to the table, if he would have walked over, sat in the chair, and then gave him the review that Ransom gave him, and then asked Mariner to buy him a drink, that would have been perfect right there. And how was it just a great thing that would have been awesome.
I agree. That would have been pretty cool. All right, so at the end there, we get, like I said, Boimler getting promoted to the Titan, and you actually see him on the ship, and we see Mariner back on the Cerritos. So this really turns some things around for season 2, I think.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think this is going to do for the second season? Do you think Boimler's going to stay on the Titan and we're going to have like a split episode? Or do you think he's just going to magically be back on the Cerritos for some fake reason? Like, oh, yeah, you sure blew him that up, and now you're back here.
Well, he did have the Boimler effect plaque.
Yeah.
I'm imagining he's going to screw something up.
I think he's going to, something's going to happen. He's going to magically be back on the Cerritos for season 2.
The only other way I can see them doing it is we get like one episode where he's on there and we see him screw up and then he's back. Because I don't think dividing it up would be, well, first of all, that'd be a lot of new crew to add. And I don't think they're going to want to keep, Riker and Deanna on that long. They might. I mean, that'd be cool, but I don't really see that happening. The other thing, the Mariner and her mother, Freeman, relationship really grew a lot. And they kind of act like they're going to start working together now. Did you guys catch that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I definitely thought that was kind of alluding to what the next season's going to be more about. I think Mariner will be, she's still going to remain Lower Decks, but I bet she'll be on the bridge a lot more.
It seemed like her mom's definitely going to take her advice a lot more and probably have her work on, bigger projects or go on bigger missions, stuff like that.
Or maybe just doing what, Mariner does best.
Right.
Breaking the rules and then, doing the things that she can't do as captain, but working together in that regard. That's kind of what I took away from it. What'd you guys think of Rutherford not having his implant, not getting it back? I mean, he's just got the patch over his face. Do you think that that's going to come into play later? Like, do you think he's just going to be damaged face human now, or do you think he's going to get another implant?
Another implant.
It didn't seem that way.
By next season, and he and what's her face will have started a new friendship. And I mean, I don't know. I thought that was humorous isn't the right word for it, but almost poetic, I guess, the way that they're going to forge their whole friendship back over again. And even at the last conversation, when she's telling him everything they did, and he's like, "That's awesome. Tell me about this." Well, that's awesome. You know what I mean? It just, I don't know. I think that says a lot about the character of who he really is and whatnot. So, just my thoughts.
I could totally see them doing this at the end of every season, having him lose his memory, and him and Tindy start over every time.
That would be awesome.
Like he's Kenny.
Yes.
You bastard.
All right, guys. So overall thoughts on Lower Decks season 1.
You completely skipped over the whole like Riker saying, "I just got out of the holodeck where I was back on the first Enterprise," you know, because that was the whole running thing of the entire series of Enterprise was that Riker was just in a holodeck simulation.
Oh yes.
And so the fact that they not only confirmed that but pointed their finger at it in this episode, I thought was amazing.
I thought it was hilarious how he started singing the song, or not singing it, but saying it.
Yeah,
that is true. I did completely forget about that.
There.
That I mean that was one of probably 3 times that I chuckled like audibly in this episode.
This overall was just a fantastic episode. I like how they foreshadowed the entire thing from the beginning to the end, as far as like revisiting old planets, and they talked about how, not going back and checking back up on civilizations after they visited them once without a mission, not just pop-ins, and how going unchecked could lead to disastrous consequences, such as this situation they just ran into now. And I think that if the other episodes were as serious with the humor mixed in, the entire first season would have been stellar. I think that this is the best episode of this entire season, bar none. And I'm really hoping season 2 continues this trend, because if it does, this will be an amazing show. But if the show does what it did at the beginning for the first 7 episodes, it'll just be forgettable, almost like the original series, animated series.
Brad, what are your thoughts on the first season?
Yeah, the season. I mean, it got off to a slow start for me, and I think as a full picture, I enjoyed it more than I enjoyed any one particular episode up until like the last couple. But if I step back and look at all 10 episodes as a full picture, I think I like it a lot more. The last couple of episodes to me felt more like Trek. This last one, I think, feeling like a truncated version of a full hour-long episode, but didn't feel like it was missing anything either. Like it had all the different components that I expected of a Star Trek episode, and but it also had the humor and the levity that we don't get to have in some of the other Trek shows, especially current Trek shows. So I really enjoyed the last couple episodes as a whole. I'm glad this series exists. It is a different part of the spectrum of kind of the Trek universe that has been missing. It's not my favorite, but it doesn't have to be either. So I just, I was pretty critical on it, but I think now that I've seen it all, I'm glad it's here.
Completely agree with you guys. What you echo, when it started out, it was my forgettable. I enjoyed it. It was a forgettable track that I could watch and just laugh at and have fun. And I didn't have to put a lot of thought into it. But as the season went on, like you guys said, it got better and better, and we started getting more of a storyline develop, and I started getting more into it, and the shows got more serious. Still with some humor mixed in, but not like slapstick silly. But that's fine. Like the show just kind of morphed for me, and I've enjoyed it the whole way through, to be completely honest. But I do kind of want to see them stick with the second half, more serious stuff that they did, because I thought it was really good. The next question I had was, what was everybody's favorite episode? But I've gathered that, including myself, this finale was everybody's favorite. Is that correct?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that last episode and this episode were pretty close to one another, and I think this one probably came out on top for me. The references on this one were struck a different chord for me than they did in previous episodes.
It wasn't just verbal references; it was actual visual representation of those references that really solidified it. It wasn't just
Agreed.
callbacks to, oh, his name was Spock or it was Geordi. Oh, okay. You said their names, woo, but this we actually saw those aliens that, the ones that stood out,
Completely agree with you. Yep. All right, so what do we expect for season 2? We're going to see any drastic changes, any new crew, same ships, I assume. What do you guys think? And the Cerritos is definitely getting rehauled, but Captain Freeman made mention that she didn't want anything shiny.
Yeah, I think that we're gonna get the same Cerritos. I don't think there's gonna be any changes there. I think that as we talked about earlier before, I think Rutherford's gonna be kind of starting over with his memory, and it's gonna create a fun sort of like him sort of redoing everything in his mind that he did in season 1, reforging all those relationships and stuff, which is going to be fun. So some of the insecurities he had this time that is going to turn into a joke in season 2. So that's going to kind of do that. I think that we're going to get a more matured show. I think now that there is a stronger understanding about what motivates each of the characters, I think season 2 is going to be a lot better than season 1 was. I think it's going to get off to a running start with some of the things they talked about in this episode, like the um, Mariner and her mom, actually trying to work together to do some good. I think we're going to go revisit some of those species in Next Generation that we only ever run into once and then we never see from them again. I think we're going to do a lot more of that, a lot more second and third contacts and checking in on some things. I bet you I'd be willing to put my lunch money on we're going to get an episode with that race of people that the Shaka and the Waz fell. That's almost definitely going to be an episode on here, and there's going to be a whole different like type of storytelling to do on that one. And I think it'll be funny to watch Mariner and Boimler kind of walk their way through that sort of relationship. So those are kind of my expectations for season 2. I mean, I'm not like doing backflips like I'm going to be doing for Discovery coming up or for the next season of Picard, but I am looking forward to what this is going to have next season. And we don't have to wait for any sort of isolation with this one either. Like on the other shows, like once these seasons are done, then we're gonna have to wait until everybody's comfortable with working outside again before we're gonna get anything. But since this is an animated show, it really doesn't matter. And we're gonna continue to get more episodes of these.
Will, what do you expect for season 2?
I'm expecting a lot of the similar things I think that what Brad had said, and I really do hope that you are correct in that assessment of being able to see second contact of some of the societies and aliens that we saw in the Next Generation, as well as the original series. I really hope that they continue that trend. I don't think that Boimler is going to be an active character every single episode. I think he may be not really a side. I just don't think he's going to be a focal point character for at least the first half of season 2. I think he's going to come back in a way. What's that?
I was just saying, you think he's going to stay in the Titan that long?
Yeah, I do, and I think we're not going to really see him make a full comeback to the Cerritos until midway through it.
Okay,
that's my guess. What do you think?
So here's what I got written down. I think the new security officer is going to be Worf, and I think he's going to be voiced correctly and everything. And my other thought is I think Boimler's going to come back either right at the beginning or we're going to see one episode where he messes something up and comes back. I don't think they're going to dump him. He's like too main of a character, I think. I think Rutherford's going to come back and he's going to be a different man. Him and Tendi are going to form a relationship, and or him and the engineer, his boss, is going to form a relationship, maybe both. And I think he's going to, most importantly though, form a relationship with Badgie. I think they're going to reunite and become best buddies. I also think they're going to stay on the serious route and keep knocking it out of the park with this show. And like Brad said, I think we're definitely going to get a bunch more references, and hopefully we visit a bunch of them. I'm really surprised at the beginning of the season there was a lot of reference to Ryza and Starbase 80, I think it was, and we never seen either one of them. And I'm kind of disappointed in that.
So
Go ahead. I was gonna say I do expect to see them both in season 2.
I do have an important question to leave season 1 on. Who was your absolute favorite character, and then who was your least favorite character? I'll start us off by saying that Tindy was my favorite character, just because I love her upbeat attitude and just willingness to go along with anything and to make mistakes, but just have a good attitude about it. She's like the pinnacle of what I think of when I think Starfleet. I think the character that I liked the least was actually Mariner. It was like 5, 6, 7 episodes that we saw that she was a loose cannon. We get it. And the next episode, guess what? Oh, she's a loose cannon. Oh, we get it. The next episode, guess what? That's right. She's a loose cannon. Oh my God. I don't know how many episodes we needed to have to hammer that idea into the ground to finally understand that. I think the character that they developed the least that I wish they would have and I would have seen more was Rutherford. I don't think we ever really had much character development except for that he had some cyborg implants. Woo. But as far as like who he was and what made him who he is, we didn't really see anything for. And I'm excited for season 2. Maybe we're going to get a lot more about him.
Yeah, so my favorite character for this whole season is going to be Brad Boimler. I
Is it because he shares a
think
name?
that, huh?
Is it because he shares a name?
No, and matter of fact, until I say it out loud, I forget his first name is Brad. Honestly, I you know I walk away with more things about him than I do anything else, like, Boiming something up or the Boimler maneuver or, just those things. I like the kind of skittishness of his, or not skittishness, but just kind of like his kind of like, anxiety ridden character of trying to promote up through things and starting to loosen up with Mariner and whatnot. Like, I don't know. I like the track that character was on for this whole series. He's probably the one that from the beginning all the way through is the one that I kept rooting for the throughout everything. I think my least favorite character is probably going to be Ransom. I think that, and I don't really have a great thing other than I just don't typically like um, the overly macho characters. Now I know somebody's going to say, "Well, what about Riker?" Well, I liked Riker, so that it's not like Riker was like pumping iron and doing things like Ransom was in this episode here, where he's like, "I can't think unless I'm pumping iron. Get out of here! I'm gonna lift." You know what I mean? Like that kind of character really doesn't get to me, and the way that he was kind of a cheesy womanizer and stuff just really doesn't strike it with me. I think if they tone that back, that character could be a lot more dynamic and would be like, to me, like if they toned back all that nonsense there, he would be like what a second in command would be like on any other show. Like, I don't know why he just kind of exudes second in command. So yeah, he's probably my least favorite.
Hey, real quick, something that you had said actually made me remember. So back on the episode where we had Barkley, and who was it that called him broccoli the first time?
That'd be
Was it
Wesley
Riker?
Crusher.
Oh, okay. The only reason I was curious about that is because did you hear Riker call Boimler Boomer?
I didn't catch that.
I didn't catch it.
That
not
would
gonna-
be that would be a great new security officer. We're gonna see. Well, it won't be Wesley Crusher, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's not voiced by Will, whoever they bring in.
You know who would be great is what was her name? She was on The Next Generation for a while. She was Bajoran. She's like one of your favorite characters.
Bajoran.
Pretty sure she was Bajoran. She was on the Next Generation.
Oh, Ro Laren.
Ro Laren.
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if we got another run a Ro Laren.
Yeah, that would work.
Oh, you mean like a Ro Laren type character?
No, like Ro Laren come
Like
in
actually
as
get Ro
security.
Laren? Nah, that's not gonna happen.
You don't think so?
No, I don't.
How long was she on Deep Space Nine?
She wasn't on. Ro Laren was not on Deep Space Nine at all. She was in Next Generation, and she was on maybe 7 episodes.
I thought she went to Deep Space Nine.
No, she didn't.
No, I don't remember.
No, because she was shooting. By that point in time, let me think about this. So the timeline's right. It's not. Never mind. I mean, she did a lot of other television. The what's her name? I keep wanting to say Rebecca, but that's not right. Rebecca something. I can't think of what her name was, but she's done a lot more television than just Trek. She ended up on Battlestar Galactica. Gosh, I just saw something with her.
Michelle
I
Forbes.
can't remember. Anyway, huh?
Michelle Forbes.
That sounds right. Yeah. She's done a lot other than being Rolaren. Rolaren was just one of her, first. It wasn't her first, but it was some of the first like big stuff that she did. So anyway, from where she's at as an actress right now, I'd be surprised if she came back into Star Trek.
Okay, so during the production of Deep Space Nine, it was intended for her to be the first officer of Deep Space Nine under Cisco, but she turned it
Right.
down.
Yep.
That's what it was. I remember reading something about that, and for some reason I thought she was on there. Had to look it up. All
That'd
right,
have
so
been
my least favorite character, probably Shax, even though he went out with a bang at the end there and was awesome. But we didn't get a lot of him through the first season until the end. I still enjoyed him though. It's kind of hard to pick a least favorite because I kind of liked them all. And my favorite, I think, honestly, Will, I know you said it was your least favorite, but I like Mariner. I think she's fun. She brought a lot of humor, and she can save the day when she needs to.
Yeah, but you didn't feel like we got the same character every single time, like as far as like just shoving it down your throat that she's the loose cannon
Maybe they did that a little too much, but it wasn't bad. Like, I don't know.
every episode. That's what the entire episode like based its craziness around.
No, that's not true. Not every episode. I mean, there was definitely one
God.
full episode and then a couple that kind of touched on it, but
No.
all right, any final thoughts, guys? All right, we're
Good
gonna wrap
show.
this one
Waiting
up.
for more.
Yes, stay tuned because Discovery Season 3, starting next week, we will be covering the first episode. All right, everybody, thanks for checking out the podcast. Please share with your family and friends. Check out our website, maturemindedgamers.com. Have yourself a great night.